Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown, and this is LA Currents. Activist, urban planner, and 2.5 years ago, she took her seat as a council member for the 4th District of Los Angeles. I'm delighted to be joined today by Nithya Raman. So nice to have you back.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
You are chair of the City Council Housing and Homelessness Committee. What does that mean, and where are we in that whole situation?
So I became the chair at the beginning of this year, really. The Housing Committee and the Homelessness and Poverty Committee used to be separate. But to me, housing and homelessness are two sides of the same coin, and we have to be able to consider them together. So I asked the council president to combine them and to put me at the leadership of that committee. And over this past year, what we've really done is to try and create what I think is the most essential thing for us to be able to move out of this moment of crisis, which is a citywide and holistic response to our crisis.
What are you focused on in committee?
One of the big things that we've been talking about in the committee is how to move from a district by district approach to homelessness to a citywide approach to homelessness. Right now in the city, a lot of the actions that we need to take in order to address our homelessness crisis, like finding shelter beds, that's an urgent task because we have less than 1/3 of the shelter beds that we need for our total unhoused population, which means close to 30,000 people are living on LA's city streets, which is absolutely a humanitarian crisis. Right now, what happens is that every council district looks for shelter options on its own. We're not really staffed to do that. We're not equipped to do that in many ways. We have to find a citywide approach to finding shelter. I think when you're talking about centralizing something like the response to homelessness, that does mean that you're taking power away from individual council members. And so we have to create a system that really delivers on outcomes in order for council members to trust that they can cede a little bit of power and still see results in their own neighborhoods, that they're able to see encampments resolved, that they're able to see people get into housing. Currently, the system is not delivering on that. I felt like I was very alone in my first couple of years in focusing on this, and now I don't feel alone at all. It feels like the thing that the city is focused on in a way that hasn't been the case before.
There's also an issue that you have been addressing recently in terms of short-term rentals and where they are appropriate and are a benefit to a homeowner in order for income opportunities, and then when they are just a huge problem to everyone.
Yeah, Council District 4 has a lot of short-term rentals, whether it's apartments in Hollywood where people are renting out bedrooms for visiting tourists, or homes in the hills which are being rented out and being sometimes used as party houses. Short-term rentals pose a challenge for the city in terms of their very existence. They are a resource for people who are coming in and staying here, but they can be real challenges for the neighborhoods around them. They can also take affordable housing off the market. The city has a short-term rental ordinance that it adopted in 2018. What we've found, both anecdotally and in the experience of many of our constituents and through data, is that that ordinance is simply not being enforced in the way that it should be. It can take 2 to 3 years for a single illegal short-term rental to be cited by the city. The other piece is that residents, when they were seeing problems in their own neighborhoods, were writing to the Department of City Planning and asking, does my neighbor have a valid short-term rental license? Is he supposed to be renting his room out? Because I see different people going in and out all the time. The Department of City Planning used to take weeks to respond to those kinds of inquiries. Finally, thanks to our work, we have a publicly available short-term rental database where you can put in an address, you can see whether it has a valid license, and you can see whether there have been complaints at that address. And so residents are far more empowered to be able to address issues in their neighborhood if they're seeing it, thanks to the work of council, but we have a long way to go to actually be able to solve this problem.
Since you took the council member position, there's been a lot of tumultuous change within the council at large, and now there's a bigger conversation about expanding the council and redistricting. Where is that right now?
So I underwent redistricting in my first year, and my district was radically changed. I lost about 40% of my old district, and I have new neighborhoods, not so new anymore. I've already been representing them for almost 2 years, and they're wonderful neighborhoods that we've had an opportunity to really get to know by serving them, and it's been great. But the way that process played out was, how do I put this? I think it felt to a lot of observers and participants, including myself, that redistricting was done to benefit individual council members and their power, as opposed to benefiting the people of Los Angeles and how they're represented. So after that redistricting process happened, I put forward a motion along with Councilmember Krikorian asking for the city to implement independent redistricting. This is what's done at the state level. This is what's done across many jurisdictions across America. It's the best practice for redistricting. And after a long time, when it didn't move forward in council, after the tapes came out, those scandalous, racist tapes, finally, that motion is being heard through a newly formed ad hoc committee on governance reform, which I think the tapes really necessitated. In fact, I asked for that committee to be created. And now I sit as the vice chair, the council president is the chair. And I think it's an exciting forum to talk about how the city of Los Angeles can improve some of these big processes to make sure that the city is truly working for its people, as opposed to for the benefit of itself or for its own elected representatives. Independent redistricting is one of the things that we're considering, but the other thing that's also on the table is decreasing the size of council districts. Right now, individual council districts are 250 to 260,000 people large. These are the largest districts of any major city in America, much larger than New York or Chicago or Boston. And I think it's time to think about whether smaller districts might serve constituents better. And the city is now really figuring out whether we can accommodate that, how would it change decision making, and how would it actually improve constituent services. Because if you cut the size of council district, but you also cut the size of council staff, are you going to get better service as a constituent? I'm not sure.
Just on a little bow on the end of this conversation, there have been some fun things. And I'll just say that, you got to celebrate the Hollywood sign,
yes.
Turned 100 years old. What an iconic image for the city, and how fun was it to celebrate the Hollywood sign?
Yeah, so, we've had a really, really fun time with some of the incredible, iconic things that Council District 4 is lucky to have in it. We have the Griffith Observatory, we have the Hollywood sign, we have the Hollywood Bowl, we have all of these incredible gifts, which I think are more than just Council District 4 amenities. They are representative of the entire city. Mm-hmm. And truly, you couldn't say that more about the Hollywood sign. It is symbolic of Los Angeles in a way that I think no other tourist attraction is. So I'm really excited to be representing it. I'm really excited to be celebrating it. And I hope everyone can take a hike soon.
So if people want to have information about what's happening in Council District 4, what's the most direct way for them to do that?
You can visit our website, councildistrict4.lacity.gov, or you can come to our social. We have CD4 Los Angeles on Instagram and on X and on Facebook. So please come visit us on the internet or come visit us in person.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for coming back, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
And that's a wrap on This LA Currents.